Hey, how's everybody doing? This is JJ with Deluxe Vehicle Detailing and Paint Correction here in beautiful Seminole, Florida. I believe this is going to be part 4. I started off very early this morning. I think it was about 6 a.m. Did a video on why I bought the Metabo rotary polisher, the PE 1520 RT, as a matter of fact. So it's kind of been a long day of videoing with me. I've lost track a little bit about what I did and didn't video, and that's not completely true. But I started off with a video about removing transfer, right? This truck was basically had just big white lines. You can still see the scratches here. That's through. It started all the way up here on the corner. I'm in your sun here, and I really can't see the screen of the camera with how bright it is out here, but this area here was pretty scratched. And of course this is plastic here, so you got to be careful about how much heat you put on it. My process for this, and he contacted me yesterday, showed up at my door, just knocked. It was a neighbor that had seen me working on cars, and so Mom said, hey, I had a hit and run, and this was basically from right above my finger here. And again, I cannot see the screen, it's just way too bright. But this was also transfer. You can see the dent, right? I've got my finger right in the middle of the dent. I could almost make the screen out. And by and large, there was just scrapes and transfer all along here, all along here. I've got some nice light here. Try and right above my finger. I'm trying to find it on my own lens here, but it's just too much glare for me. Right above my finger there, those were too deep to be able to remove without getting out the wet sand and going that route, which I informed them that I'll do what I can do with wool and the rotary. This entire wheel well is completely scraped. This is through the paint right here. This is real bad. There's no paint right above my finger. So anyway, I set the client's expectations that I could make some major improvements on how this looked, you know, with all the paint transfer and all the light scratches. But I said, everything's not going to come out and you're missing paint. So I'll make it look a huge difference. I gave them a very neighborly price, and we just went from there. So anyway, this is kind of just the after. I only did take pictures of the before. I didn't actually video. I just went back and looked on I believe the first video that's how to take a scratch out of car paint, which may or may not end up what the title actually is. But it looked pretty gnarly, and it looks a million times better. I'm going to show you my process. My previous video kind of went over. So this is what I ended up using. Hey, yay, I can actually see things now. So this is Barney's detail products, all the way back since established in 2018, and I say that because it was last year. But impressive paint leveling compound. When you put this between your fingers, even I had my nitrile gloves on, the thick 9 mil gloves. Man, it is like liquid sandpaper. I mean, it's so, it's diminishing, but when you start with it and just feel it, it's incredibly aggressive. And this is what I wanted. I started out with a wool pad with the Metabo, and I'm gonna, you know, just say right here that if you're not experienced with detailing, and you know, the kind of the credo is start with least aggressive and work your way up. Well, when you have enough experience with things, sometimes you can just look like at those deep scratches, and I'm like, I'm not starting out with a polishing wax, okay, and a microfiber towel. in my previous video, I said this is the way you want to do it. You want to start least aggressive and work your way up until you start getting the results you want to see. I didn't really follow my own advice here, but I don't have to. The advice I'm giving people is the proper advice. What I did is I was all excited to use my Metabo, and I just wanted to go through the first 3 speeds, so I went up to 1100 RPMs. You can see here on the handle that there are the levels, right? So I had my big 7-inch wool pad that I plan on doing some work on with boats and get some more wool pads, and I'm looking at the 3M you know, quick connect system. I'm really thinking that that's a way to go, although it's very pricey. And before I just ramble on too much here, let me just say that I gave solid advice on my previous video, but I don't necessarily follow my own advice, because what I wanted to do was just lightly use my new rotary, not go real crazy with it, and just get a feel for the vibration, the noise level, how it felt. I want to say, you know, I wasn't trying to like really hammer this paint and get everything that I possibly could out of some of those deep scratches. I wanted to just kind of get a feel for the machine and play around with it a little bit. I was able to achieve complete, you know, no hologram, no swirl marks, no buffer trails with a coarse compounding, you know, cutting wool pad and a very aggressive compound that is a diminishing compound, which means you start out with, you know, kind of big chunks in your material, and they get smaller and smaller, they diminish. So I then switched over to a product I like a lot. I use this often, Sonax Perfect Finish. You can see here, if you're not familiar with this, they give you kind of a rating in cut. Turned that the wrong way, sorry about that. Having a little problem here. Seeing now that's sunny. Can't get that to focus quite right. But anyway, there's the cut on top, and there is the gloss on the bottom. So it's high gloss, and it's more than halfway through medium cut. And let me just tell you, sorry about that. An ant just bit me in the arm. That was nice. And so I you know, I had a little bit of hazing, especially on the dark blue. I could see it. I refined the hazing with a white, I think it's called a CCS, Lake Country white pad. Went over everything that I went over with the wool. I actually pulled out the 3-inch on the rotary and used a Lake Country Force orange pad with this also, just to refine some of the scratches a little more, you know, make them a little more diminished. I then used a clean white pad. I used a couple on this while I polished. Then I used the Meguiar's Detailer Ultra Polishing Wax. And this leaves behind protection, right? That's what makes it a one-step. And I found that on dark paints, this is called D166, by the way. I have found that on dark paints, this really does a nice job, and I love this on single stage paint as well. You've seen my videos on that. I then used a product that's fairly new to me that I've only used on my own personal BMW Z4M, and this is Dallas Paint Correction Kingsguard Top Coat Protection. This stuff is a product that is like a last step of protection, LSP commonly known, and I tell you what, it's supposed to make everything look like wet hard candy, and I have to say that this paint was very neglected. Okay, a lot of scuffs and small scratches coming off of here. I went ahead and really, even though I just had this huge scratch here, which was massive, by the way. Now you can barely make out the top one. This one's all the way down to the metal, so there's nothing you can do about that. But the gloss and the shine, see if I can, I did this entire area, okay? I did this entire door, even though this is where the dent is, and you should easily be able to see that line, but it is also dented in. It was a pretty severe mailbox introduction with the car. So if I went up here, you can see the swirls. Hopefully you can see right under my finger the swirls, the improper wash techniques, probably lots of trips through the car wash. There's a big scrape that goes up along this. And then if I come in here, you can see the beautiful clarity. And this was just the only thing that I hit this whole thing with was the D166, and then followed with the Kingsguard. Anyway, this just looks stunning right now. I mean, it live in the proper paint, and I didn't get everything. Actually, this scratch right here was bugging me. I did work on that for a bit, but it just didn't want to come out. But regardless of that, you know, there may be some, yes, there's some imperfections, but the gloss and the shine coming off this, the metallic coming off this, absolutely amazing. And that's about that. And you know, the silver came out nice as well, and you've got a really nice gloss on that. And I ended up doing the entire side of this car the same way. You know, nothing to do, you know, there's no paint there. There's just nothing to do about it. But I refined it down. It's got amazing shining gloss. I also used the D166 and the Kingsguard on the whole side of the car here. But I hope they're both happy. Sometimes I tell people, hey, look, I'm a detailer, not a magician, right? So there's only so much you can do. But I did all I could do today, like I said, without getting wet sand. And you know, wet sand on OEM paint is something that's a little tricky. Yes, I do it occasionally to take out scratches for sure, but you know, I try not to. If you know, he says, hey, I want to get more aggressive, and you know, if I'm taking away a lot of clear coat, you know, I'm going to go and have the car, I'm going to have the truck repainted, so don't worry about it. Well, then I can get more aggressive. But I mean, there's no point in trying to go after this. This is, I mean, this is a fingernail catcher. You cannot, you know, practically run your fingernail over that. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful to at least one person. So it's helpful to me sometimes, but I hope it's helpful to you. Get that nice reflection in there, just really nice clarity, really awesome. So I thank you for being with me. As always, enjoy making your vehicles beautiful. Remember, please go ahead, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, do what you need to do, and watch this series of video. If you've jumped in the middle, really you should watch and read my commentary that I put underneath the video. It explains a lot too. I try to go into more detail with that. Sometimes I miss things as I'm talking, right? So anyway, thanks everybody, and until next time, take care, and we'll see you again. Bye.